Well, the World Economic Forum's annual conclave is flooding the Swiss Alps with national leaders and global officials. But U.S. President Joe Biden is not in attendance. Yahoo Finance's contributor Kevin Cirilli has the latest. Kevin, talk to us about that. President Biden's not in attendance this year?
You know, it's interesting because in the previous administration, former President Trump also would skip Davos because he didn't want to be seen as too much of a globalist. In this administration, the progressive left has pressured Democrats on climate change issues as well as on Wall Street regulatory reform. So it's become a bit of a political nightmare for the occupant of the Oval Office to decide whether or not to go meet with global leaders, business leaders, and the like. But there are some lawmakers who are attending that call them the political mavericks, so to speak. Senator Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, as well as Senator Chris Coons from West Virginia, Arizona, and Delaware, respectively, are in attendance. They are meeting with business leaders and the like. And of course, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen also at Davos. And she's got a big meeting that she's going to be having tomorrow.
Yeah, so tell us more about that meeting. Janet Yellen going to be meeting with China's vice premier on the sidelines in Switzerland. So tell us more about this.
Well, Vice Premier Liu He, this is the first time that Secretary Yellen will be meeting with her Chinese counterpart, and they've got a lot to talk about. Remember, it was back in November when President Biden met with Xi Jinping in Bali. But since that meeting, we've got a host of new economic indicators coming from China. Just over the last couple of days, we know that China's economy grew by 3 percentage points in GDP last year. That beat expectations. I think Reuters analysts had predicted that would be 2.8%, but it's still the second lowest increase on year since 1976, according to the Wall Street Journal. And then lastly, population decline. China's population declining 850,000. This is the first population decrease that they've seen for quite some time. They've still got a population of about 1.4 billion. All of this comes as the conversation here in the United States amongst the C-suite level, whether it's Apple or other companies, is are they going to diversify their geopolitical supply chains? Apple, of course, looking to make more investments in India. So they've got a lot to talk about. China's rhetoric has somewhat softened in the last couple of weeks. I can tell you that I talked to sources on both sides of the aisle here in Washington, D.C., who are rolling their eyes at that rhetoric shifts. And of course, in March, we're going to be hearing from Xi Jinping at the annual Parliament Summit. That will be the party summit. That will be the first time that we've heard from him since he's consolidated power just a few months ago.
And Kevin, what's the outlook for the debt ceiling deadline here in the U.S.?
Well, we've got an X date. Treasury Secretary Yellen releasing that letter to Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, on Friday that the U.S. will hit the debt ceiling on this coming Thursday. That means that she's going to have to use what's known as extraordinary measures over the next couple of months in order to make sure that the U.S. pays its bills on time. Speaker McCarthy was on the Sunday shows. He spoke on Fox News Sunday, and he once again previewed that they want to have entitlement cuts. He said to Fox that he is definitely going to be looking at making some type of cuts for entitlement funding, and that he would like to see if there's any way that they can reduce spending. Now, President Biden, for his part, yesterday speaking at an MLK breakfast in Washington, D.C., he called it, quote, fiscally demented, end quote. So get ready for a battle.
A battle indeed. Yahoo Finance's contributor Kevin Cirilli, thanks so much for joining us.